one of us was ever expecting to get anyone pregnant. And I remember I was at work, working night shift, and Danielle asked me if I could get a pregnancy test because I jokingly was telling her that she was pregnant, and she didn't believe me because she didn't think that she could get pregnant, and I didn't think I could get anyone pregnant.
I didn't believe that I was pregnant. My family was like, "You're looking a little different. Your body is changing, and you're eating like different kinds of food. Like you were just eating a lot." I was eating a lot of stuff. Michael kept teasing me, like, "You're pregnant." Everybody was saying, I was like, "I'm not pregnant." Well, one of my friends called me out of the blue, and she was drunk, and she's like, I just know you're pregnant. I was like, "You're crazy." And she's like, "No, I know it. I just feel it." And she was right. She I don't know, she normally is right about stuff like that.
And I got a pregnancy test, which she asked me to. I remember that she got really upset with me because I bought the expensive one that said pregnant or not pregnant, which is what she asked for. But I bought the expensive test. And I went to sleep. She woke up, she took the test, and I remember she woke me up about an hour after I fell asleep, telling me that she was pregnant. Quite a surprise and exciting too.
And that was pretty much the start of, all right, we're pregnant. Like, we did check out. We were checking out different hospitals of what do they offer, what do they not offer. We did go to one hospital, which I had picked out a doctor, but he only went to 2 hospitals. One was farther away. I didn't want to go there, so we checked out this other one.
We went to look at a hospital, and we were there. It was nice, but Danielle could tell that I wasn't very comfortable. We've had many friends who have gotten midwives and had great experiences with those midwives, and so we decided to look into that route as well.
My family background is more of like old school and back in the day, so like water births was just like one of those things that was, pain relief. And so I thought, oh cool, I'll do a water birth.
We chose a midwife called Christine Collins, and she seemed amazing. She was great. She'd work around her schedules. Turns out that was not the case, and ultimately she pushed us aside and wanted us to rush out because she had other clients as well.
We paid her in full. We paid her right up front in our first appointment. I paid cash, gave her all the money, and at first she was great. At first everything seemed all right. She was good. She was measuring me and monitoring me and keeping tabs on my diet and keeping tabs on what I was doing and how much water I was drinking. And at first she seemed very, very good. Sooner or later it was getting toward the ends of my pregnancy, and I didn't even really want to see her. She wouldn't answer my questions. It was like
she was actually telling other midwives that she wished that Danielle would hurry up and just have her baby.
She talked about me in the community.
She presented herself as if she knew how to deliver babies basically at the level of a nurse that actually is at a hospital that's trained to do so. That's the way that a lot of midwives present themselves when they're CPMs. They're not, and that's the biggest thing, and we learned that the hard way, because when things went bad, she didn't know what to do.
I would go in,
she was
do
nice.
a urine test. She was nice, and I would get measured, lay down, get measured, listen to the baby's heartbeat with the Doppler, and then we'd sit there, and it was like either hanging out with your friend or talking to a counselor, and she's like, "How do you feel? What's going on?" And and telling me stuff or asking me questions or whatever. At first it was okay. I mean, it's fine. Any questions I could just message her and be like, what's going on with this, or how does this work, or whatever. But by the end it kind of all stayed kind of the same, but I ended up with like a list of questions right at the end of my pregnancy because I didn't know anything about vaccinating. I didn't know anything about what happens like after birth, you know, like when you have your baby. So I had like all these questions, and she didn't answer them. She kind of just blew me off, like, next time we'll do that, because she just wasn't answering. She wasn't really listening to what I had to say. She wasn't really believing me, or she kind of just treated me like, oh, you're a first time mom, you know, like, she'd say, you know. How would I know? I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know anything. So if I'm asking a question, I obviously do not know. But yeah, that was about the normal of our things. So at the end, our last little bit of our pregnancy, we were overdue. We did testing to see how our baby was doing. And our baby was fine, but we did a couple BBPs and there was no fluid. We didn't know what that meant, so of course we followed our midwife's advice and whatever she told us to do, and we trusted her, and she told us to go home, so we went home. We didn't go to the hospital. We just did exactly what she told us to do, and on February 20th, our son went into distress, and we ended up rushing to a hospital to end up with an emergency C-section, which he came out alive, but he couldn't breathe because he had no fluid and nothing to swallow other than meconium, because that was all that was in there with him at that point, because he was that far overdue and that far without any fluid. While we were still in the hospital, and she was feeding us a bunch of lies and stuff that was clearly not true or made any sense, she went over to do some midwife training stuff, and in that process of it, she was on Facebook writing about me and blaming me for the death of my son, saying we refused to go to the hospital, saying that she did everything right, but it was just us, and the only thing wrong that she didn't do was handcuff us to drag us into the hospital, which that's not what happened at all. And we learned also after that weeks later, after she was faked to our face for about a week, we only talked to her about a week after our son died, that she had crowdsourced our information. She didn't know what low fluid meant. She didn't know anything about it, or at least she pretended to not know the warning signs. So she asked other midwives out there by crowdsourcing, and majority of the midwives wrote back that it was fine.
Despite some of the women actually saying that, you know, she needs to get us to a hospital, she ignored all that. She didn't tell us that. She said everything was fine. Just go home. Baby's coming. Everything's fine. Even though there were people out there saying that we have to get to a hospital. Certified professional midwives are a bunch of kooks. They don't even belong in the medical society. Like, you go to a couple classes and then you can deliver babies. You take care of the most important part of life, the birth. When you have two lives in your hands, a mother and a child, and you only do like a couple weeks of classes, maybe take some stuff online, or maybe you just attend a couple births. And you want to call yourselves professionals? No. Certified nurse midwives that practice under the care of a hospital and a doctor that actually have medical background? Yeah. Because as a certified professional midwife, you are less trained than an EMT basic, which is what I was trained to. And I was trained to deliver babies only in an emergency case situation at a home. And I've had more medical training than a professional midwife. So, I don't know why you guys do it. Maybe it's the money. Maybe you think that you can play God or whatever. But certified professional midwives, they're terrible. There's so many deaths that are attributed to you as professional, quote unquote, professionals. It's wrong. You're misleading people. And half the time, well, pretty much every single time that something goes wrong, where does it go? It goes to a hospital. It gets put on their record. It gets put on them. Or you call the EMTs or the paramedics, you call the fire department because you guys don't know what to do. Because you guys expect a perfect natural birth. And when stuff goes wrong, you're not trained to deal with it. And when stuff goes wrong, babies die. Like our son, Gavin. He died. Even with the guidance of midwives, he died. Because our midwife wanted the glory of a 42-week pregnancy. She thought that she could pull it off. And when stuff went wrong, she didn't know what to do. And then she made it out like we were the bad guys, like we did something wrong. When all that Christy M. Collins ever told us was baby's gonna come tonight, sent us home with a Doppler, and we were up all night checking the baby's heartbeat. The next day, things changed. We ended up in a hospital, we lost our son. And then Christy acted like she was our best friend, and yet, all she talked about us was just a bunch of bullshit. A bunch of lies that made us out like we didn't want to go in, even when we were the ones that were saying, should we go to the hospital? She said, no, don't worry about it. That's midwives for you. And this was somebody that we trusted. A medical professional that was supposed to bring our child.
If you're looking into anything and you don't know anything about home birth, you don't know anything about midwives, and you're here in the United States, don't just Google them. Don't just look them up. Don't just go to natural birth websites and believe the bullshit that's on there. Actually look them up. There's a place called Sister in Chains. Look them up. See if any of the names of people that might be in your area are on that list. Look around for people that tell the truth about midwives, because they have a list of names that we're not allowed to tell online because the midwife community gets very offended and doesn't want the names out there. They think that that's wrong, that the names should not be public property, but it should be. If there's somebody out there that is hurting people, then people should know about it. Just like a criminal. So when I say do your research, it's not just listen to the rainbows and butterflies that they're going to tell you, because there's many things that you're going to hear, and there's many things that you're going to see, and beautiful pictures of water births and babies being delivered and moms looking at their babies and stories and books and business of being born. But the fact is, and the truth is that we are just one family of many families out there. There is numerous, like I can't even tell you how many women I have met because our story got public, that have come to me and said, I lost my son, I lost my daughter, this is what happened to me. And guess what? Nobody knows their names. Nobody knows their children's names. Nobody knows their midwives' names. But it should be known. But if you think about it and you're considering it, really consider it, and don't think this is just comfortable and calm and sweet and perfect, because it's not. The reality of birth is it's messy and it can get really ugly. And what does a midwife do? What does anybody do? They call 911 and they get you to a hospital. And the fact is, if you don't live next to a hospital, pretty much in that hospital's parking lot, you're not going to make it in time. Even in the hospital, they only have minutes to get you into the other room to cut you open and get that baby out. And that is the reality of this. And this is what we have had to learn, because there was no one to tell us this. You know what? You should feel happy when you go to the hospital and you have your baby vaginally, whether you had drugs or not. And you should feel happy that, you know what, you got pregnant and you ended up with a C-section, or you got induced, but you know what? The end game plan is that you got your baby, and you get to take your baby home at the end of the day and shake all those nurses' hands and doctors' hands and everybody that was there for you, taking care of you and your baby, because that's the point of birth. We are so far advanced than what we were before. And when people want to tell you, we've been doing this forever and it's so natural, guess what? Women have been dying for many generations, and babies have. You can go back even to our ancestors 100 years ago. They were having 9 kids, but how many of them were living? Maybe 4, maybe 5. So if you make a choice, make sure it's the right choice, because if not, this is what you get to live with. And this is what you get to deal with, is that this is the reality of our life. This is our child. This is what we had to take home. We did not choose for our child to die. We chose for home birth by a professional, by somebody that's supposed to be educated, and they were not.
I know Danielle doesn't like this word, but go fuck yourself, Christy. You're a fucking cunt. Christy, other midwives that want to act like you know what you're doing and that you're great and everything else, I can only imagine the countless children that you've actually lost.
I really hope that your last child came out okay. I want you to know that I don't think about you. When we talk about stuff, we talk about what happened and what you did and the ways that you lied. And I'm sure right now as you're watching this, you're lying to yourself or lying to whoever's watching it with you. But you're such a pathological liar. You're a sociopath. Something is wrong with you. You really need to get help. I'm surprised CPS has not taken away your children from the things that you've done. Not saying that you're clean, like you're not a clean person, or that maybe you're not a bad mom. I have no idea. I've never really seen you around your kids because normally your husband was taking care of your kids. But the way that you are mentally probably is not good for all those kids. And you have a lot of kids. And you had another baby that you didn't even want. Another boy is how you put it. And I feel sorry for your children. I feel sorry that you really just don't care about them. You're so busy on the birth high that you're just jumping on any pregnant woman you can to piggyback up from her birth so you can be there for that euphoric feeling at the end. You need some help, and a lot of people know about it. So
It was about a year ago that I got to hold hands with my kid. For the first and only time. I wished he was here. He'd probably be walking, trying to talk or something. Probably be like me when I was a kid, getting into everything. But like a good friend said to me, I guess that God needs him more than I do. So it keeps me going. And I think about him every day. I keep doing what I'm doing because I love his mom, my wife. I gotta try and take care of things. That's what he'd want me to do, I guess.
I wish we were coming up to your first birthday. I wish I would get to enjoy all the time with you. I wish I would hear you and see you and get to spend time with you and be at home with you. Watch you sleep and watch you play and watch you grow and do all the things that we were supposed to do and all the things that we had talked about. The world is very different now. It's very cold. Very confusing. We lost something very, very good. The best part of us put together. I wish we were spending this first year learning to be parents. I wish we would be more worried about what stupid things to buy that he's not going to remember when he gets older. wish I would have been off buying him like a bunch of outfits, not deciding what I would want him to wear. With a bunch of different shoes. Probably change him a bunch of times that day because he'll be at everybody's house while we're family members. Instead, it's another day, like another reminder.
This is us talking about our feelings of what happened with the loss of our child, and I'm sure there are millions of other parents that would like to share their stories and their experiences and try to give more education to people that are out there. I mean, our situation, it's very personal, very different than a lot of other people's, but every situation is very important to express and also let other people know about. Expecting parents or parents who are trying again. So, in light of Gavin, Michael, my son, her son, this is something that we would like to start having people share, their stories and their challenges with childbirth. Love you, Gavin.